Hello, this is a TEFL Alumni series where we invite our alumni graduates of Teaching English as a Foreign Language program at the American University of Armenia. And my name is Irshat Madyarov, Faculty Program Chair. And today we're excited to introduce to you Hasmik Kyureghyan, our graduate of class of
2012.
2012. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Hasmik, 2012, it's been what, 13, 14 years ago, I guess, already. Time flies. You've had a long journey since you graduated from the MATEFL program. So tell us briefly what's your journey been like.
So I will try to tell briefly what I have been doing during these 13 years. So basically, after graduating in MATEFL here, I was teaching both kids and adults, and I was really interested in education research. I even remember taking an online class of education research. And then I took different roles in the field of education, but the most impactful role was leading the teacher professional development reform program in Armenia. And I think this is when I realized that I have a lot of practical knowledge of the field, and I also need some theoretical knowledge of the field and of teacher development and education. So that's why I decided to pursue a professional doctorate. And back that time, we were working with some colleagues from UCL, and knowing their capacity and expertise, I decided to apply for pursuing my doctoral degree there, which I did. Yeah.
Wonderful. So you actually recently defended your PhD, your dissertation, and obviously we'll talk about this later on. Now, UCL, to me, is like MIT in the engineering world.
Yeah.
University College London, College of Education, obviously is a top school for educators, prepares educators. Very exciting for us, the program, TEFL program, our graduates, knowing that they get admitted to PhD such universities, such caliber. I was curious, was it hard to get in?
It was a bit hard because it required some years of professional work, because it was specifically designed for working professionals. That is to say, if I had just my MA TEFL diploma, I couldn't really apply to that program. And I was the kind of youngest one in our group. So there were a lot of different people with different expertise, former school principals and program heads, etc. And it was really challenging to cope with that pace and expertise within the group. But it was kind of the most rewarding, I think, experience that I have had at UCL. And you had noted correctly, it's #1 university in the field of education. It's already like the 9th consecutive year that they are getting that #1 title. Yeah, and I'm really fortunate because I have had the most amazing supervisors, and I'm really grateful for their support and guidance throughout my journey. Because while studying, actually, there were a lot of different things happening in my life as well. Like, I decided to co-found an educational foundation, so it's Paradigm Educational Foundation. And as if pursuing doctoral degree and managing the foundation weren't challenging enough, I became a new mom, and it was triple challenging for me. But there were moments when I wanted to give up because I was exhausted. But I'm happy that I could resist the temptation of giving up. And I kept going, which I'm really, I think, proud of myself that I could do that.
We're very proud. Me personally, very proud that you've been able to accomplish this challenge. Proud that you're a graduate of UCL and also graduate of Alumni Preparatory for.
Thank you so much.
I also want to make a comment regarding this challenge, trying to cope, juggling so many different responsibilities. I think women especially should be, especially proud, because in Armenia, especially, you're oftentimes a mother, a wife, and you have to run the business of running the house, all the home, and then also doing a PhD at this university of this caliber and working oftentimes. It's just amazing how you are able to accomplish. For us, I think it's a lot easier, but take off my hat. So, your PhD at UCL has this title, Exploring Teacher Professional Agency in the Context of the Bottom-Up Professional Development Conferences, Perspectives and Implications. And so the main focus was the Armenian teacher educational system, actually.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So tell us what the project was about and what you found out.
Sure. So as I have mentioned, I co-founded an educational foundation back in 2018. Yes, back in 2018. And then our first project was bottom-up teacher professional development conferences. So we initiated to organize such kind of conferences, which are usually called conferences. But coming from education field, I decided to call it bottom-up conferences. And the meaning was that teachers come together and share their expertise, share their ideas, share their challenges that they encounter while teaching, during their teaching practices or during their career. And then, because I was also studying for my PhD degree, I decided to look at that context and to understand how bottom-up teacher professional development conference approach somehow help teachers to foster their teacher agency, because I read a lot of literature about agency and how much it is important for teachers in their work, not only in the context of professional development, but also in their daily activities, in their decision-making, how they make decisions, how they bring some innovation into their classroom, because this is all connected to their agency, autonomy, but also agency. Because
if I could just clarify for those who may not be familiar with this concept, what is agency?
Yeah, sure. So there is traditional approach to agency, human agency, which is basically a capacity of an individual to be able to do autonomous decisions which are guided basically based on their own values, their own beliefs and understanding of the world. When you come to teacher agency, there are two different approaches. One is like traditional approach, which comes from traditional teacher and structure debate part or conception. And the one that is a new one, it's an emergent, which is called ecological approach to teacher agency. That is to say, it's an ability or an act, basically, where teachers come up with their own decisions based on their understanding of their teaching practices, again, guided by their professional but also personal understanding and values and beliefs. And this is in short, but we can go deeper into agency and exploring teacher agency and all the components of it, but in the course of the time.
So Armenian teachers, obviously different subject catchers, and we're looking at the agency as a result of their participation as presenters,
as participants.
So as participants, so it seems to me like bootcamp type of format in the tech world.
Yes.
Bootcamp conferences. And so what did you find?
So firstly, before going into findings, I want to mention that I looked at 3 consecutive years participants. I looked at quite a large cohort. So I had over 200 surveyed teachers, and then I had 7 interviews and then 4 field notes based on the observations. So I looked at 2019, 2020, and 2021 conference participants. So I had quite a lot of kind of people participating in the research. So what I found is I came up with a new typology of teacher agency in the context of bottom-up teacher professional development conference approach. And the typology has 4 different teacher agency types. First is empowering agency, acknowledging agency, change maker agency, and autonomous agency. And I derived these types and this typology through two different layers of data analysis. Because, none of my questions, both in the survey and interviews, were not asking teachers directly about their agency, because the concept of agency was very new in Armenia. And even if I asked that directly, no one would understand what I wanted them to say. So I came up with different questions on about their professional development, about their professional practice, their understanding of teaching, their understanding of education in general. And then based on their answers, I derived some manifestations of their agency in their work. This is how, this was the most challenging part, actually, of my research. So yeah, if I come back to your direct question, I could identify new typology of teacher agency, which is a really great contribution into the field of teacher agency research.
I was going to just say that obviously for the theory, for the literature, as we say, it's a huge contribution, I would think. Does it have any practical implications for Armenian teachers?
Yeah, I say a lot. I mean, because I also had a chance to discuss my findings in terms of trying to design teacher professional development programs in a way to incorporate certain features which foster teacher agency. And this can be applied both to bottom-up teacher professional development and top-down teacher professional development. And basically, as a continuation of my thesis, I'm currently working on a journal article where I discuss the applicability of my typology into broader spectrum of education.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
Because we're a teacher preparation program, can you share some tips?
What is it that we might consider? Could maybe already we have it in our...
Wait for my article. Yeah, sure, there are. So I am looking at what are those features that teachers reported based on my research that help them to foster their agency. And I am suggesting, recommending if it's possible to include those features into the teacher professional development activities. One of them, for example, is decision making in terms of which specific topics to include into their professional development. The other one is voluntary participation, which is kind of thing when they decide to participate, they take ownership of their participation and learning. And I think that with current reform in the traditional aspect of teacher professional development that is going on now, they incorporated some of the features into the even mandatory top-down approach.
Mm-hmm. You're probably referring to CPD, continuing professional
Yes.
development, in Armenia.
CPD for in-service teachers.
That council has been spearheaded.
So the thing is that currently, starting, I think from the end of last year, they decided, the government decided to make CPD for in-service teachers needs-based, which is really interesting. It has a lot of positive aspects, but also it brings some challenges for the system. For example, from the positive points of that reform are that first of all, teachers take ownership of their own professional development. It adds differentiation into teacher TPD or CPD, whatever it's called. But the challenging part of it is the mechanisms how to identify the real needs of teachers. Because currently, as far as I know, there is just the questionnaire, teachers fill in the questionnaire. It's a kind of self-identifying questionnaire. And then there is another type of questionnaire that the principal of that school, of that teacher fills out. And then they compare it, and based on the results, they decide that teachers need to take this TPD or the other one, this module, and should meet this and that.
And so do you think this current setup for identifying the teacher needs, professional needs, is not as effective? Yes, right.
I haven't seen all the questions in the questionnaire in the current mechanism, but I think it needs proper research and a team of professionals to work on such kind of mechanism in order it to be as accurate and as effective as it should be. Because otherwise, all these efforts will be just lose, whatever it is. Yeah. We will lost all the efforts and it won't be meaningful enough to have the impact that we really want. Because on an level of idea, it's really great when we allow teachers to have their CPD based on their needs, professional needs. But the thing is that how we measure it and how we help the teachers to identify their needs. Because sometimes, it's hard for an individual to really identify the needs. Sometimes they think, this is what I need. But then when you keep asking questions and digging deeper, you just end up with completely different needs that an individual, and in this case, teacher, can have.
Yeah. So if we could step back, because you are an expert in education, and the ministry, as you mentioned, has approached, and I know you've had some work with UNICEF. It'd be interesting to know your opinion on the current reforms that are happening in the country in the system of education. Any other changes in your assessment of those?
It's a hard question. A lot of reforms are happening, and it's really positive. I mean, if I compare the state of education or the attention that teachers or the field of teacher education was getting before, I could happily say that now they have a lot of attention in terms of the government and the ministry is trying to make positive changes. However,
just to clarify, do you mean pre-service, in-service teacher education, or both?
In-service mostly, because with pre-service, unfortunately, based on the law, the government does not have much of power to impact the pre-service education because they are located within universities and universities have certain autonomy. But I think the government is also trying to make some changes here based on the new law on higher education. But this is another topic, so I'll leave it out here. In terms of in-service teachers, a lot of reforms have been happening during these years. Overall, I can assess it from the positive aspect that a lot of things are happening. However, to me as a professional, it seems a bit quick, a bit rapid, a bit not based on thorough research and evidence. And by saying evidence, I mean local evidence, because we always can look at best practices internationally to understand which systems are doing what and how they are tackling this or that issue within the system. However, we need very evidence-based kind of ideas from local research because we are different. Every system is different. It's different because of the people, because of the social norms that we have, and it may lead us to quite different solutions rather than following popular solutions that are happening in the world. So this is my thing, that we need really to look deeper and to think thoroughly about any change that we are making, and we should base those changes on evidence from local context.
So this positive note, I'd like to thank you for finding time in your busy schedule.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
And I would like to wish you wonderful professional academic success. I know you're probably busy submitting the articles to the journals based in your PhD or dissertation. I want to thank you and for the contribution to the field of education internationally and here obviously in Armenia, as well as a lot of success and accomplishments in your personal family life.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And to our listeners and followers on social media, we will see you next time.